Recep Tayyip Erdogan says Turkish troops are ready to enter Afrin city at any time. The forces have the city surrounded, currently held by YPG terrorists and their allies. Afrin is the biggest city of the region, where Turkish forces launched a military operation in January. Erdogan's announcement comes a day after Turkish forces took over Afrin region's second biggest town of Cinderes.
Çatılmış vaziyette. Her an
The center of Afrin is surrounded. We can enter it at any moment. Those who directed Daesh against us yesterday are today doing the same thing with the Syrian branches of the PKK, the PYD and YPG. When the subject is Turkey, our enemies can become friends in a minute. Closed doors can open and guns and money can flow abundantly. We're in Afrin today, we'll be in Manbij tomorrow. The next day, we will ensure that the eastern side of the Euphrates is cleared of the terrorists, up to the border with Iraq.
TRT World defense analyst Oubai Shahbandar joins us now for an assessment of Turkey's mission. Hi, Oubai. So the Turkish president just announced that they could enter the Afrin city centre any moment. Does that mean Afrin operation in Syria is coming to an end?
Well, it certainly seems that all roads are open for the Turkish military and the Free Syrian Army to finally begin the final battle for Afrin. We certainly seem to be in the early stages for this final decisive battle, as the Turkish military and its Free Syrian Army allies have liberated over 100 villages and 5 major towns in the province of Afrin. This operation began, as you know, about 50 days ago when the Turkish military launched this attack against the YPG PKK terror group in the province of Afrin to work with its local Free Syrian Army allies to liberate the province from this terror group to stop cross-border attacks. It seems that after a string of major battles where the YPG was forced to retreat, that they may be making now their last stand in the capital of this province, in Afrin city itself. So it's certainly going to be what many expect to be a very decisive battle, because it's also happening at a time when the YPG is moving additional reinforcements from YPG fighters in eastern Syria that have been trained and armed by the U.S. military. So we may be looking at what seems to be a major battle ahead as the Turkish army and the Free Syrian Army begin the final preparations for the capture of the city of Afrin.
And Oubai, Erdogan has made it clear that Manbij is next, but US does not want that to happen, the operation to continue there. So can they put their differences aside?
The issue of Manbij is a major issue of contention between the US and Turkey. Turkey wants the YPG, the PKK terror group, outside of that important strategic city in northern Aleppo province. The U.S. had promised the Turks that the YPG would move its forces outside of Manbij once that city was liberated about a year and a half ago from Daesh. That has not happened. That promise has not been kept. Ongoing negotiations between Washington and Ankara do continue, but there are still major questions on whether or not the YPG would move its forces outside of Manbij. We've heard from the Turkish officials that they are ready to work with the Free Syrian Army to capture and push the YPG out of this Arab majority city, which is crucial because it opens the gateway to the rest of the countryside in Raqqa. It's still not clear whether or not the U.S. will pressure the YPG forces that it's working with on the ground to move outside of the city of Manbij. And there are also major questions on whether the U.S. will stop the YPG in eastern Syria from continuing to move weapons and personnel from northern and eastern Syria into Afrin. So still some major issues of contention with the U.S. continued support to the YPG at a time when the YPG has declared that it will no longer fight Daesh.
Oubai Shahbandar live from Istanbul there.